Miguel from WeWork, one of these phenomena, when we talk about bringing European stories on stage, we can learn from the Americans, because WeWork is a story which I actually heard of the first time this year, and I was fascinated by it. A client of us told me about it, and then I visited Miguel's partner, Adam Neumann, in New York, and I was just overwhelmed, and I thought, we have to learn what's going on, and WeWork has big plans in Europe. So Miguel, thank you for being here. We would love to know what WeWork is. I think a lot of people read the name, they have heard about the great valuation you achieved in your rounds, and some people have been in the offices, but since we have you here, it would be lovely to hear the story from you. What is WeWork?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we're obviously excited about helping people learn who we are because we think we're quite different. We started as entrepreneurs. We felt like being an entrepreneur was actually really tough, and that there weren't many people out there sort of looking out for the entrepreneur and trying to help them on their journey. And so we wanted to create a platform for people who are creators. We call people creators instead of entrepreneurs because we feel like anyone who's bringing something new to the world is a creator, and that could be a lawyer who wants to do things differently. It could be your typical tech entrepreneur. It could be someone in fashion. It could be someone in food. But anyone who is a creator, who has that spirit of engagement with what they're doing, that search for meaning, it needs a place where they can gather together. And so what we wanted to do was take away a lot of the barriers, a lot of the things that keep you from focusing on what you actually do, a lot of the logistics, and actually create an environment that's supportive and helps you along the way. So it goes from office space, obviously, to business services, to social connections, and a whole bunch of stuff in between.
So you take away all the boring stuff of office and handle that for them, and they can focus on the creative side of the job. Is it more expensive than normal office space?
So it depends on how you look at it. I mean, certainly per square foot, or per square meter, if you're making a calculation, you could imagine that it's more expensive. But we think with the whole collection of things that you get, no normal office space is offering you emotional support. So, what's the cost of that? There's no real way to put a specific dollar amount on those, connections that you make with people that may lead to, from friendship or from conversation around coffee to, future business that could have great value. So I think while up front it may seem more expensive, in the long term it's actually a great value.
And who are your members? I mean, I was thinking when I first visited of small startups who just need something temporary or interim, but then I learned from Adam and Michael that no, you have actually the biggest companies of the world inside your properties. So give us an idea of who your members are.
It's quite mixed, and I think that's one of the things that we find to be so interesting about it, is there is the single person, there's the person who just sort of quit their job and is like, I'm going to start something new. They don't even know what it is yet, but they just know that they have it in their heart to try something that they believe in, all the way up to companies that are quite large. I mean, we have companies that are fully inside of WeWork. They're anywhere from 20, 40, 60, 100, 200 people. And we have companies that are funded with hundreds of millions of dollars as well. And then we actually have large multinational companies that are putting creative groups inside of WeWork. So it's really diverse. And that's what's really crucial about the environment, is that you learn from people who have different perspectives, and everyone who's sharing that space is adding to that environment where, again, who knows what might happen, whether it's business, whether it's social, whether it's something that you don't have to have any preconceived notion of what you're getting. You just sort of open yourself up to these connections and then let things flow.
Do you have people like Google and Facebook and big companies like this inside?
I don't know. It's a good question. I'm not sure if we have Google. They do pretty well in developing their own workspaces. I know we've had companies like Coca-Cola, for example, that has Merck, like pharmaceutical companies. We've had a lot of companies that seem surprising as a fit, but then when we meet the people, the members who are actually in the building, we find that they blend right in. They happen to be really cool people, really happy to be in this environment, and they're connecting with other people and offering friendship and business connection just like everybody else.
So you give like big corporates an opportunity to get close to the new economy, the challengers of the champions, as we say in Berlin, by actually sharing an office space.
I mean, I think we all enjoy. I mean, everyone in business seems to like the story of small business. You know, there's certainly an energy that happens when people are small that perhaps dissipates in some way in a large company. You know, it's sort of the downside of large companies is the energy level drops and people are not quite as engaged with what they're doing. And so I think being in that environment is quite inspiring, to be around people who are really excited about what they're doing, who are unwilling to settle for, you know, enough. They really want to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And I think that's just inspiring for anyone, regardless of, you know, your age, regardless of your position in a company, no matter what you're doing. That's just an awesome energy to be around. So
you created an offline and an online ecosystem of the WeWork way, and it's sizable. Can you share with us like some numbers, like how many members or how many square feet, square meters or buildings you currently have?
Yeah, that's a good question. To be honest, I can't remember the
Roughly
square feet. A couple million square feet with about 35 to 38,000 members currently, I believe, and that's worldwide. So we're in New York and in most US cities, and now we have quite a few locations here in London. We're in Amsterdam, Tel Aviv, and also exploring other international cities. And one of the things that's awesome about that is that we actually hear great stories. I was with a woman last night who was at a party who, you know, she came over from New York. She literally just walked right into our location in Soho. She made friends within the first 10 minutes. Everyone was open to her, like, wow, a WeWork member, this is awesome. And she was actually starting to enact business over the first couple of hours that she was in London just by going and hanging out in the common area. And she had actually done the same thing in Amsterdam as well. So, and then she showed up at our party, which was last night, with some of the members from Soho, and they were already bonded as friends. So it's just so, you know, multi-dimensional, the way the connections work in the space. And so I think what we're so interested in is continuing to push those international boundaries, because we find that people are actually, you know, making connections that are really hard to make normally. I mean, imagine walking into Shanghai and just going to a location, a WeWork location, and all of a sudden you're meeting people who are interested in connecting with you, who are interested in having a cup of coffee and just helping you learn about, you know, the business environment. That's pretty unique. So you create familiarity for people who are not close to each other normally. You just have a common understanding of WeWork. So do you also encourage trade between your members? Yeah, you're helping them? We facilitate it in that we both are community managers, so every building has community managers who are deeply connected to the members, who know everybody and are willing to sort of, you know, if this person needs this and this person provides this, to make that connection. We also have a digital network where actually trade is happening all the time, and it's on multiple levels. I mean, one, it might be a new company who comes in and says, I need branding and identity, and they're finding a bunch of people who will do that. There's also a lot of cool, very last minute stuff. So someone is like, I need a promotional video by tomorrow morning for an investor meeting or a sales meeting, and literally they'll find someone in the building who will work, you know, until 2 a.m. to help them make that movie, because they believe in the connection, they believe in helping their fellow member. And so to watch that happen is pretty awesome. Like, it's pretty cool that someone will jump up at 4 p.m. and be like, I'll do whatever it takes to help you succeed. And that's a pretty, you know, awesome resource to call upon when you really need it. So what's next for WeWork in Europe? Where will be the next locations, and how do we find you? We need an office, by the way. We need an office in Berlin. Yeah, well, it's interesting. I mean, every market is a challenge. You know, as anyone who knows real estate knows that it's difficult. You don't just walk into a city and say, give me a building. You know, it takes a lot of work to look around to make the right connections. You own your buildings? Or? No, all leases and partnerships. You know, certainly many of our building owners are partners, and you know, we love building a relationship with them that's mutually beneficial and definitely long term. I mean, many of our leases are, you know, 30 years, so we look at it in a really long-term perspective. So it's something that we feel like it's better to really make connections in a city and learn about the right people that we feel like are the right partners, rather than just going in and sort of taking the first building that we find. And so it's a, you know, we're going around from city to city and getting to know people and trying to open the right doors for ourselves. You're from Oregon, right? Yeah. You said.
I mean, would you have ever thought that you're running a, I call it startup, which is valued $10 billion?
Well, I'm not sure if anybody actually imagines that for themselves, but I will say that, for many people, I'm sure as London is in Europe, New York was a place for me that was a symbol for, achievement, for where you would go to sort of make your life. And so I grew up with that feeling really my whole life, that New York was the place I would go to make my life happen. And so, I was so driven to get there. And then once I was there, I just was incredibly driven, nonstop to actually make something happen. I can't say that I feel in any way fulfilled. The valuation is relatively meaningless compared to what we believe is a much more interesting story. And so we're gonna keep pushing and pushing to connect more people, to let more people know about what we're doing, and to really help them help themselves be successful.
Miguel, I think it's fascinating, and if you really think about what the digital or the internet world has done to any industry, it has disrupted it, and it brought a new perspective, and it brought new products through digital, and you're connecting, I think, the formerly called tenants, and make them members to be part of your ecosystem. It's been like a parallel to the normal world. I think it's very, very amazing what you have been doing, and thank you for coming. We are very keen to hear an update, and you should come to Berlin, where we have all these big old economy companies coming, and they want to learn from you, and I think the way they can learn is just becoming members and putting like a SWAT team in there.
Right, yeah, be a part of it. I think that's what we ask everyone to do, is come take a look, come engage with what we're doing, and see what happens.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.